All right, President Trump tweeting not too long ago, writing, very proud of the U.S. Senate for voting yes to advance the nomination of Judge Brett Kavanaugh.
All right, so this is where I want to welcome in our first guest, famed political strategist, New York Times bestselling author, and the subject of the award-winning documentary, Get Me Roger Stone. There he is, the man himself, Roger Stone. Roger, great to see you. All right, Roger, let me tell you what's making me nervous, and I want to tap your decades of experience in these processes. Susan Collins was a yes for cloture, but she's going to hold a press conference this afternoon, in a few hours, to issue some kind of statement. Is Susan Collins going to turn around and say she's not going to vote to confirm Kavanaugh, or is this just a way for her to get a little more PR?
I don't think so. I know Susan Collins. I've known her for many years. I worked with her for the re-election of President Ronald Reagan. I think she was looking to see the results of the FBI report that the Democrats insisted on. As you'll recall, Dianne Feinstein did not want that report made public. Then she did want it made public. Now Senator Chuck Grassley has made it public. And therefore, we know that Senator Collins has found nothing in the report that would cause her to vote no, because there is nothing new in the report that hadn't already been plumbed by the Senate investigators. So the FBI investigation ploy, which I think we all recognize was just a delay tactic, seems to have backfired. And my sources tell me that Senator Collins will be a yes vote for confirmation.
And Roger, are they telling you that Flake will also remain a yes vote, as will Manchin?
I don't have a reading on that. I've seen media speculation. Some of his public comments yesterday seemed to indicate that that was the case. Now, he's already announced his intention to become a lobbyist after he leaves the Senate. They never go back to Pocatello, do they?
No, they do not.
But I think it looks likely. And Manchin is from a state that voted for Donald Trump by a 40% margin. He is not up for re-election in this cycle. The guy who I find surprising is Joe Donnelly of Indiana,
yes,
another deep red state that the president carried comfortably. And just a few short days from now, Donnelly faces a re-election bid, which can become very complicated if he votes against Judge Kavanaugh.
Certainly. All right, Roger, let's talk about your assertion that the Democrats are going to be using the same tactics they're using right now with Kavanaugh to try to impeach Donald Trump should they retake the House in, like you say, with 32, 33 days. Now, if that is to happen, how exactly would it play out? And what specific tactics do you think the Dems would use? And, of course, all dependent on whether or not they take back the House in November.
Well, what we've seen here, John, is a new standard. In other words, innocent until proven guilty is out the window. Under the Democrats' new standard, any woman can come forward and make any accusation against any man, devoid of evidence, proof, eyewitnesses, corroboration. None of those things are necessary. We're being told we must believe any woman who makes a charge against any man. So I think the game plan, which is being tested before our very eyes, the blueprint, if you will, for the left, would be if the Democrats take the House, they almost immediately vote articles of impeachment upon taking control. The substance of those articles is immaterial. We would then go to the Senate. Having no solid evidence of Russian collusion, we would then see all of the alleged women victims of Donald Trump who surfaced during the 2016 campaign, had no evidence or proof then either, but they'll be trotted before the nation to tell us in teary, whiny voices about how they were assaulted. Now, they won't remember when it happened. They won't remember where it happened. They won't have any witnesses to it happening. They'll just keep insisting it happened. And then the Soros-financed operation, working hand in glove with the Senate Democrats, will torque up the same kind of national spasm you see today with an argument that Trump must be convicted and therefore removed in the impeachment process based on his uncorroborated assaults on women.
All right, Roger, let's focus back on Brett Kavanaugh and this op-ed piece that he submitted to the Wall Street Journal, somewhat unprecedented for a Supreme Court nominee to do this. It's titled, "I am an independent, impartial judge." Kavanaugh wrote that he got too emotional at times during his testimony last week, and that he added, he said some things that he should not have, and that his emotion was showing how frustrated he was with the sexual assault allegations against him. President Trump's Supreme Court nominee also wrote that he is a pro-law judge and he won't decide cases based on his political beliefs. And I do not decide cases based on personal or policy preferences. I am not a pro-plaintiff or pro-defendant judge. I am not a pro-prosecution or pro-defense judge. I am a pro-law judge. Why do you think he took this step, Roger?
Well, I really think what they were trying to clean up was the fact that in his confirmation hearings, he did something you're not supposed to do. He told the truth about the political motives of those who were against him. He was very blunt. This is an organized, left-wing financed operation. It is about revenge over the defeat of Hillary Clinton. Oh, my God, the judge spoke the truth. He doesn't have the temperament to be a judge because he loped into politics and told the stone-cold truth. I think many Americans who were watching were shaking their heads in agreement. That's exactly what there is. But in the charade that is national politics, we're supposed to pretend that judges have no politics. Right. Ruth Bader Ginsburg's attacks on Donald Trump, I don't remember the left screaming about how that meant she didn't have the temperament to serve anymore on the bench. Hypocrisy. Thy name is liberal.
Yeah, John Paul Stevens, the former justice, came out and said that he didn't think that Brett Kavanaugh had the temperament to serve on the high court based on that. You know, that in itself, you could say, was a political argument from Stevens, who we know how he comes down on his.
He was appointed by Gerald Ford. He's perhaps the least distinguished person to ever serve on the court. A few months ago, he was explaining to us how we could repeal the Second Amendment.
Right.
So his understanding of fundamental law is pretty weak.
You know, even CNN, Chris Cillizza at CNN did a piece just last month, August 31st, I believe it was, where he gloated about Ruth Bader Ginsburg being the face of the Trump resistance. No one in the Senate, no one in the GOP, in the Senate GOP, said she doesn't have the temperament. That's unethical. She shouldn't be seated on the bench, and she should recuse herself if a case pertaining to the administration comes before her. They all got a pass, Roger. Why aren't Senate Republicans pointing that out?
Well, look, there's a number of discrepancies. For example, Senator Hirono from Hawaii attacks Brett Kavanaugh, says that men just need to shut up. But when Senator Hirono was in her 12th term in the Hawaii legislature, and Senator Daniel Inouye, the U.S. Senator from Hawaii, was accused of sexual assault by a hairdresser by the name of Lenora Kwok, you know what Senator Hirono said? Absolutely nothing. She wouldn't take on the head of the Hawaii Democratic machine. Or then there's Richard Blumenthal. He actually has the nerve to read the Latin quotation of law that says if you are found to be lying about one thing, it can be presumed that you're lying about everything. Well, Senator Blumenthal, what about your lying about your service in Vietnam? These people are shameless. They can't be embarrassed. They will say anything. Facts just no longer matter.
Yeah, I also found it ironic that Chuck Schumer was up there pontificating about temperament. Well, we all remember the incident with him on the airplane when the flight attendant asked him to turn his cell phone off, and
I forgot about that.
let's just say he used less than flattering words about women toward her.
Well, look, Chuck Schumer is a man that when he broke up with his longtime mistress demanded that she give him the mattress that he had bought for her back. That's what we're talking about. Don't ask me to prove it, Chuck, because I can.
All right, Roger Stone. Roger, it's always great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Great to be here.
There's a lot of hypocrisy, though. A lot of hypocrisy in that Ruth Bader Ginsburg piece. When CNN wrote that, I'll paraphrase the title, but it was how Ruth Bader Ginsburg is emerging as the face, not just of the resistance, but at CNN in big bold font, the Trump resistance. Not one call, even from the right, for her to recuse herself on cases that would pertain to the administration. But now Kavanaugh is apparently unfit to serve because Democrats were mean to him, so he might be biased against Democrats. It's ludicrous, John.
Yeah, I obviously, Brett Kavanaugh himself is saying there are things in that testimony that he wished he had not said.
Well, he was emotional. Look, he went on to say
he could have made the same point without it specifically. Yeah. And I don't disagree with what Roger was saying about him telling the truth. But you don't have to specifically invoke the name of the Clintons in that speech.
No, but he wrote, Judge Kavanaugh wrote this. He wrote, I testified with 5 people foremost in my mind. My mom, my dad, my wife, and most of all, my daughters. This man has been shamed in front of the nation.
True.
I can't blame him for being emotional, for being heated.
I think a lot of people feel the same way.
They do.
All right, coming up, former House Majority Leader Tom DeLay is here to break down the whole confirmation process less than 24 hours before we'll know if Judge Kavanaugh becomes Justice Kavanaugh. Stay tuned.
Take our poll. Should the Senate confirm Judge Kavanaugh? You can vote in our text poll now. Text the word VOTE to 64800. We'll send you the question. You reply with yes or no, and we'll give you those results. At the end of each hour, the final results at the end of the show. Be sure to stick with us. We'll be back after this short break.